Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Coach 2023. Today's Thursday, June 1st, and it's 3 o'clock Eastern Time. This is Liz Cresci, Strategic Growth Coach. So before we get started, let me have to find my Q&A box. Here it is. Okay, so forgive me, bear with me, please. I'm not in my usual location. And I know I missed last week. I was traveling. So this is brought to you by Life Coach University. Please check us out at lifecoachuniversity.com. We have amazing sessions. We have Let's Coach almost every day with various different coaches. They're so fun and fantastic. And you really get to know each and every coach for their own thing. Anyway, I'm Liz Cresci, Strategic Growth Coach. Duty will travel across. Sorry about that. Let me make sure that's off. Okay, sorry about that. Got to go with the flow. So we are going to talk today about just that, going with the flow and learning how to take what comes at us, right? So before we get started, let me remind you about the Q&A box. If you have any questions, you'd like to join in the conversation, please feel free to throw something into the Q&A box. If you'd like to be coached one-on-one, voice to voice, you don't have to come up on camera. Raise your hand. I'd love to talk with you. It can be about the topic today. It can be about any topic that you're struggling with that you just kind of want to talk through, because coaching is super important. And having that neutral sounding board is a way to help you get through whatever's coming at you at the moment. So, for example, today, obviously, I'm not in my same location, and, things aren't where I have them, and I'm a little bit discombobulated because of, I'm not in my usual place. So how do we handle this? We can get frustrated and we can, fight against it, or we can stop and take a breath and say, okay, how can I make the best of this? How can I deal with this? And having those two different mindsets, they really shape the way you experience your setback, or you experience whatever's happening in the moment. Does it have to be catastrophic? Does it have to be something that sends you off the deep end? I had a conversation recently with someone, and they had an idea in their head about how a whole situation would have gone down, right? So they had an expectation that didn't come to fruition exactly the way they wanted it. And I felt that it was so telling, because they got very upset, and they started to cry, and they were yelling, and they were saying things they probably wouldn't normally say to other people in a tone that they probably wouldn't use. And it elicited a reaction in me that I can't say I'm super proud of, but my first reaction was to kind of put that wall up and say, I wasn't in the room with them. We were over the phone. So it wasn't like I could, do something to shake them out of this, or, snap them out of it. And I felt myself spiraling into their pit with them. And it was really nothing. In the end, it was nothing. It was about picking up cats, right? And one of them decided to hide and didn't want to be taken out of the house they were in at the moment. And the whole thing was just ridiculous, right? So the outcome is how we deal with the unexpected, or how we deal with things that don't meet our expectations, hence unexpected, right? I guess I just put two and two together there for myself. But concentrating on, what do we think the outcome, what do we want the outcome to be? Does it really matter how something happens? as long as the outcome is what we want it to be. Again, I apologize for any noise that you may be hearing from the environment around me. Is it really? Does it matter if you take the long way or the short way or the bumpy way or the windy way or the way underground or fly over? Does that matter if you get where you need to go in the way that, and you arrive in the way you need to arrive? Everybody's happy, healthy, everything is just the way you needed it to? Because I might have a picture of how I think that should happen. But for you, maybe it would be totally different. So who am I to be upset with you about the fact that you chose to do it differently? That's the beauty of us, right? We are all individual. We are all, unique humans, right? We all have things, even growing up in the same family, you're not going to have the same perspective, even with the same players, right? We all bring to this our own special uniqueness. And I think that goes a long way in communication, and it goes a long way with the idea of unexpected, or having to not have every duck in a row, not have everything just in the right place where you left it. It's about being flexible. When you have flexibility, you have choice. Choice is the most important thing we have as human beings. We don't just have survival choices, on or off, food or no food, shelter, no shelter. We have more choices than we even know. So the question here as a coach, and I want to ask you, is where can you add more choice to your life? Where can you add flexibility? Is there something that you are not being flexible around that honestly, it really wouldn't matter if you changed up the way you did it? I mean, of course, there are certain things that you have to put gas in your car before you expect it to go anywhere. I'm sure that there's things in surgery, or there's things in other engineering that needs to happen, one, then the other, then the other. But for the most part, do your kids really care how dinner was made? They just want to eat dinner. And I know it's so simple, and it seems almost rhetorical, but I find that it's some of these simple concepts that we get lost with, right? Because it's not. It feels like coaching sometimes should be something grandiose and earth-shattering, and the angels should come down and the harp should start playing, and it's not that. That's subtle. The universe speaks in subtleties. So is there a time that you can think of that perhaps things didn't go your way initially, and you got very upset, and you found that it was a struggle, but in the end it worked out okay? I know I have. And yet when I look back on those times, I almost chide myself for why did I make it so hard? It was going to work out anyway. And the harder we fight to keep our limitations, the harder we fight for the way we think things should be, the more elusive the outcome becomes. So having some flexibility and just understanding what your destination is, what's the goal that you want, what is it that you want to have happen from the moment? Does it really matter how it gets there, as long as it gets there the way you want it, or something close, right? Again, I'm so sorry. I'm just a lot of noise around here today. And I didn't want to miss my time with you because I really enjoy it. And I'm hoping that, it resonates with you, what we're talking about, because it's real life, right? Being flexible, being able to level shift, and being able to find a way to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish and being okay with that. There's really only two things we can never come back from. Well, one we could never really come back from, and that's death, right? Not, at least not yet, that I'm aware of. And the other thing that you can't really get around is taxes, at least here in the US, right? So short of those two things, you can always find a way. You can always fix it. If you're going down a route and it's not working, it's okay. You can just stop and say, what about this isn't working and how can I make it work? In a conversation I had earlier today, the concept of the fact that we get stuck in a why comes up. And think about that. We really do get stuck in why. 9 times out of 10, why is really kind of irrelevant. Unless it's avoiding something again in the future to understand kind of what the catalyst was. But for the most part, it's just about acceptance. Like, here's where we are today. Here's the fact that I have to do something. I have to take this, for example. I have a 3 o'clock appointment with you folks, and I have to find a way to make it happen. So how can I do that? Oh, not when I find myself falling into the, oh, why me? Why did this happen? Oh, like, that is just not constructive. What kind of options and choices and empowerment does that give me? Nothing. Because I'm spiraling down into the abyss that, I don't know, I could liken it to the fact that, I was born so many years ago in a hospital in this county, right? It just doesn't make sense. Stick with the here and the now. Stick with what you know. Stick with the facts. Emotion derails us. Emotion is great because it gives us some insight, but for the most part, in the moment, it derails us. It stops us from seeking the outcome that we're looking for. And in the case of today, the outcome is, how do we be flexible? Think about that. Think about, there has to be an opportunity in your life right now that you could be flexible about something. And it's a muscle, right? We get so caught up in our habitual patterns. We get caught up in, we do things the same way. And on one hand, that's great because it limits the decision-making fatigue that we have. Now, there is a difference between choice and decision. So before I get into that, it limits us into, we just don't have to think about it. I wake up, my alarm goes off, and I follow the same steps every day till I'm dressed and out the door. I don't have to think about it. People lay their clothes out at night so they don't have to decide what to wear. You could just wear the same thing every day. There's plenty of people that have a closet full of gray t-shirts or black pants and a white shirt or whatever that is, and they just wear that every day. They make it their uniform. And that's their choice, right? Choice is an option. Choice is not being told that you only have one way to go. I'm not familiar with some of the other countries in this world where they have no choice, but I know that there's very little choice in certain countries in this world. And what some of those people wouldn't give to just have some of the basic choices that we take for granted, right? Choice of what they want to do with their life. Choice of how much money they want to make. Choice of where they want to live. Choice of what they want to eat for dinner. Our life is filled with choices. Decisions, on the other hand, are things that we choose from our list of choices, and we decide on one of them, right? I have 65 t-shirts in my drawer. I'm going to decide which one I'm going to make a choice and decide which one I'm going to wear. So the little things, if you're constantly having to decide between one and the other, it does create decision fatigue. And decision fatigue is real. You just get tired. And you don't want to have to make another choice. And you want somebody to make that choice for you. Therein lies another choice, right? But when it comes to things happening in your life or major decisions or paths that you take, be okay with it. It doesn't really matter what you choose. It's the fact that you have a choice. And let's say you make a decision, you make a choice to, I don't know, have chicken for dinner and you're not happy with it. Well, then you have another choice. You can eat it or you can swap it with someone else or you can send it back, provided you didn't make it. But think about that, like the power of choice in our life keeps us flexible. And if we're okay with flexibility, we're okay if things don't work exactly in the regimented way that we wanted, then we are able to adapt to so much more. And I think that's really what separates us from the animals, right? I mean, to have the ability to switch on a dime the trajectory we're going, whatever that is. And in coaching, a lot of times we're dealing with career, we're dealing with self-esteem and self-worth, and we're dealing with interpersonal relationships, and we're dealing with growth, right? That's what I focus on, is how do I grow myself? How do I grow my business? How do I grow my life so that when I look back on it, I can be proud of it? We do that by staying flexible and by having choice, because the person who is the most flexible wins, right? If you have two people in an argument, the person that's willing to be the most flexible ends up on top. When you are steadfast in your systems, and when you're steadfast in how you handle things, and everything has to be just so, you might not realize it, but it doesn't serve you so well. You're missing out on quite a bit. And there has, offers up some flexibility in there. I'm not saying turn your whole life upside down, but try it out. What happens if you brushed your teeth with the other hand tomorrow or tonight? It feels weird. It might not go great the first time, but if you committed to doing it for a week, by the end of the week, you'd be brushing it like you were with your dominant hand. It's little things that we can practice our flexibility muscle, so that when we have to do something like this, or to take a different path, part of that is the trust in ourselves. We have to trust that it's going to come out okay. And we're going to give it our best, right? Because how you do anything is how you do everything. If you just, kind of give it half an effort, that's all you're ever going to do in things. That's what people are going to see from you. If people see that you're going all out and you're committed 100%, they're going to believe that you do that, whether it's in this moment, in this situation, or if it's in something greater than this. It is how you do anything is how you do everything. My kids are so tired of me telling them that. They're not flexible. But you never know, right? Life is an adventure, and there's so much to learn and to experience. And if you're only ever stuck in the same rut, you aren't going to be able to enjoy that as easily. So thinking about growth, flexibility is a big part of that. And just try it out. Where could you be more flexible in your daily routine? Where can you be more flexible when dealing with someone else in your life, whether that's your child or your spouse or your parent or your colleague? I have a friend, a very good friend who has some teenagers, and she said to me that she decided that she was going to step back and allow her kids to have more choice in their own life, right? And to be more of a guide versus a dictator, and asking them, what their thoughts are on things. And, expressing her concerns if they asked, but ultimately allowing them to make choice for themselves. And while it's scary, because as an adult, we've probably already been there, and you want to, help them avoid some of the situations maybe you're aware of that have happened in the past, or, to yourself or to people But if we don't allow them to step up and experience things, and the repercussions too. I mean, repercussions aren't necessarily bad, right? Consequences can be good, consequences can be bad. They just are. There's no judgment. It might be what you want and it might not. Obviously, if it involves bodily harm or, a risk to life or limb, you would probably step in more harshly. But if it's about making certain decisions for themselves, talk through the choices with them. Talk through the choices, find out what their thought process is, empower them to be flexible and to offer themselves choice. And it's so amazing how after a little bit, they will start to step up to that, and they will start to feel better, and it will calm some relationship friction if there was some, fighting and arguing, especially with teens and young 20-somethings. It's like banging your head against a wall. Be flexible for you. This is a gift for yourself as much as it is for them. And understand that ultimately, they're the ones that have to live their life, and they're the ones that have to follow their path. And that might not look exactly like yours. That's where the outcome is important, right? So with outcome always in mind, you want, for example, your child to grow up and be a self-sufficient, productive member of society who is well-balanced and well-rounded and has a good heart and is willing to be there when they need to be for other people, and who can, put boundaries down and stand up for their own true self, and who can make decisions, and who have common sense, and, who are living their best life. Like, isn't that what we want for our kids as parents? But as a parent, I have to be flexible in how that happens. I have to grow myself to allow them to grow. And I have to grow myself in the flexibility aisle so that they can have choice. And I have to trust that, that they're making the right choice. And if I'm not trusting that, then I need to jump in and ask the questions. It's okay to find out what your child or what your colleague or your spouse or whomever is thinking. It's okay. We spend a lot of time in our own heads, and yet we don't offer ourselves necessarily the best options of what that looks like. Ask the questions, communication. There doesn't have to be a right or wrong. There just is. I just want to know a little bit more about you. I'm trying to get my head to understand, what your thinking is. Do you know what the outcome is going to be? What are you hoping for? How can I help you get that? So enough of that. I just wanted to say I'm so happy to be back here with you guys, and I look forward to speaking with you guys again. We're coming to the end of our time. So I want to leave you with this, where can you find more flexibility in your life today? Where can you increase the choices? And what's the outcome? Pick something, work on that muscle. Let's grow together. And I will be back here next Thursday at 3:00 Eastern Time. Again, I'm Liz Cresci, and I'm a strategic growth coach. And if you want to find me, you can find me over at legacyofgrowth.com, or email me at liz@thelegacyofgrowth.com, or of course, hello at Life Coach University, because we are brought to you by Life Coach University. And if you enjoy any of these sessions, please send a note to hello@lifecoachuniversity.com. If you want to hear specific topics, please let us know. We're happy to oblige, right? This is about you, and it's from us for you. And we just think that, like the Life Coach University mission is to coach millions more. That's what we want to do. We want to bring coaching to everyday folks like yourself. So I appreciate you joining. Thank you so much. And I'll see you soon. Thanks for your flexibility today. I really appreciate it.